timing of this program?
I can tell you for our part, it's those numbers that I mentioned earlier. 39% increase in pedestrian fatalities last year. Almost 80% increase in our bicyclist fatalities. And think about this. We talk a lot about murder in this community. We had 93 murders last year. Folks, we had 138 traffic fatalities. And I can tell you, those 138 people, their families, their survivors, they are just as hurt, they are just as harmed as those who were murdered. So we need to start really focusing on these fatalities.
What about, do you think technology has anything to do with it, with texting and just the prevalence of that?
Anything to do with technology? Related to texting? You'd have to look at each one of those singularly, but I can tell you what a lot of it is people not paying attention, not obeying the rules of the road. You know, that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons that we're going to this video red light enforcement at our top high frequency crash locations. Because one of the things that we know, if we will utilize engineering first, a lot of these deaths can be prevented. And that's why we're moving to this video red light enforcement program and moving into this education program in partnering with the FHP and the Florida Department of Transportation, the secretary here, because they know how important the 3 E's of traffic management are. And of course the third one being that enforcement, and we're going to be out there doing the enforcement part.
Hello, Sheriff. What the value of this campaign is, what the dollar amount y'all are going to be spending on this is, and kind of quantify how many billboards, how many advertisements, how widespread this message is going to be.
Yes, sir. For the TV ads, billboards, and the bus ads, approximate amount is $78,000. For pamphlets, brochures, various handouts, and around $22,000 for a total of $100,000. And we can provide you a map of where the billboards will be located that we have identified thus far.
The question I have is, it seems like there's been year by year a decrease in vehicle crashes, vehicle-on-vehicle crashes, and yet we're seeing this increase in bicycle and pedestrian fatalities. Why is that? The explanation for why that's happening in the way that it's happening. You mentioned, Sheriff, the big increase in bicycle and pedestrian.
Well, I can tell you for Duval County, for the last 4 years, not counting last year, actually, for the last 5 years, 4 of those last 5 years, our traffic fatalities in Jacksonville were going in the right direction. They were going down. They were going down pretty significantly. And then last year, we jumped from 103 to 138. And that is disconcerting. And, you know, I think some of it is there's increased bicycle traffic out there. I think it's more as people just generally get into the hustle and bustle of life, and they're more distracted. They're paying less attention, and that results in a lot of these fatalities. People texting, as you said, and walking out in front of traffic and that sort of thing. So it runs the gamut, I believe.
I agree with the sheriff. There are a lot of it's a multifaceted problem. Some of it is texting, some of it, and as far as the traffic fatalities are, you end up with vehicles where you have multiple fatalities, and all of a sudden your numbers start going up. You get 2 vehicles, we have 10 fatalities in 2 vehicles all of a sudden, and all of a sudden your numbers are out of whack in 2 weeks' time or two days' time. And it just keeps going from there. But a lot of it has to do with people not being attentive, pedestrians, as the reason we're here today, bicyclists, not utilizing sidewalks, not utilizing bicycle lanes. There's multiple reasons why we have the rise in fatalities, and it spikes, it goes up and it goes down, but we just want to keep things going in the right direction, and right now through education, hopefully we can start solving that problem and keep it at a minimum.
In terms of enforcement, you mentioned, as an example, when you right turn on a red without coming to a stop or something, we're going to kind of be stepping up. What are some of the other things your common driver, pedestrian, bicyclist, may have been doing up until this point that we're going to be stepping up?
Mainly with a lot of people, or a lot of pedestrians, the things that I see, people really got to start utilizing the engineering, obeying what the crosswalk, the signs at the crosswalk. You got to start utilizing those. People got to start crossing in the pedestrian crosswalk to allow the drivers, hopefully, to see them. That's why the crosswalks are there. The pedestrians and drivers too. They need to try to make eye contact with the drivers. It's just a lot of little small things. Make sure that drivers see you before you ever step out into the intersection. I know we have some intersections that are very wide, but you can only take them one section at a time sometimes because the lights do change quicker. And I would assure you that the Department of Transportation will be taking a look at those type things to ensure that a pedestrian have enough time to go from one side of the street to the other without the lights changing on them. And also, motorists that are approaching crosswalks, particularly getting ready to make these right turns, understand that the traffic in front of you may have a pedestrian block that you cannot see them. So come to the intersection with the intention of stopping instead of trying to roll through that traffic light to make that right turn. It's only a few more seconds that you can take a glance and have an opportunity to see whether or not pedestrians coming from the opposite from the other direction and being hit by a vehicle. And we have so many SUVs on the road these days, and we got small people that they just step out, and all of a sudden you got a crash that could have been prevented if everybody would have taken a couple of extra seconds to see what's going on. And also the pedestrians can do the same thing when they're walking across the street. And you get to that, it's always that third lane, that right lane. When you get to that third lane, always slow down, take a glance to make sure that nobody's rolling up there and getting ready to make that right turn, which is where we have a lot of problems with people not. The driver don't see the pedestrian is trying to get across and don't see the car until it's too late.
So let me throw this out too, because I think this is a great opportunity for a learning moment here, because it happened. I learned this actually in a terrible traffic fatality. I think it was on San Jose. I believe it was San Jose. These crosswalk buttons. Push that button not just to get the light to cycle to allow you to cross, but by pushing that button, it actually adds additional time for you to cross as a pedestrian. If you don't push that, it will cycle more quickly, and as the major said, you can get caught in the middle of the intersection with the light changing on you. Utilize those buttons at those, they're usually on those big 4-lane crosswalks. So use those buttons. It gives you the time that you need to safely cross.
Sheriff, what about, there's lots of roads in town where we don't have sidewalks, we don't have crosswalks, we don't have bike lanes. That seems to me where some of the biggest problems could be occurring.
Well, I would encourage people, number one, if you're biking and there's no bike lane, ride in a row, not 4 abreast out into the roadway, that sort of thing. If you need to cross the street, go to an intersection and cross the street. I know it's tough in Jacksonville because we have these big rural roads, and that crosswalk or that intersection may be, an extra 50 or 100 yards away. But go use it. That will likely keep you alive.
Sheriff, the City Council is considering a 3-year moratorium on mobility. Want to comment on that? I'm sure that would help prevent you from making some of these improvements.
Well, I don't know the full extent of that, but one of the things I would like to see is when they build these future subdivisions and things, that they do have bicycle lanes and proper crosswalks and that sort of thing. So I don't know how that ties into that, but we should not be cutting public safety short in our future buildings.